Okay, so in this video, we are going to introduce you guys to the framework. We are going to start by kind of showcasing the documentation. The documentation you are seeing right now is kind of incomplete. There are some missing sections. If you are seeing this on launch, if you are seeing this later, this is really incomplete because I'm going to add more things based on feature requests. So okay, so let's start with the introduction. So basically, this is a framework developed well by a group of people. Now, in this case, um, we are recording the tutorials right now. Blah blah blah. This basically says nothing. To install the plugin, you just put it inside the plugins folder in the engine or in the project. You kind of don't need to do this because if you bought it from the marketplace, it automatically adds it to your engine or the project. So this framework is divided in various components. We are going to start about the notify systems. The notify systems, how do they work? You have an input notify. This is basically in your animation montages. You can add this notify. So if you want, for example, uh, let me see an example of this. If you have an animation and you want the player to do an input, or if the player does an input, the animation changes for other things. For example, attacking combos. You can do a montage with various uh, animation sequences, and you can add the input notify. So, for example, this has a variable b should stop. If you, it can be used to call an object function. We are gonna get to that later on, but right now we are gonna focus on the b should stop. If you have it enabled, if the client misses the input notify timing, it won't play it will stop the animation montage. So, for example, you are doing a attacking combo and you want uh, the player to press the attack button in a specific time frame. You add this notify. This is an anim notify state, so it is the time you want it to be. And if he presses it, the animation continues, else it stops. That's in this case for combos, for example, but you can use it in many ways. The collision check. This one is for melee weapons like swords and anything that contacts with the AI. You will add it on an attacking animation and it will automatically check for collision and return to event function that can be overridden in blueprints. And that's basically it. To set up this, the weapon needs to have two sockets, weapon start and weapon end. That's the sockets where you want the trace to be in between, and it will do everything for you. Rotation notify, this is used for if you don't want the client to be constantly rotating towards the NPC. On attack, you can add this notify and it will smoothly rotate to the closest NPC based on the camera and their locations. So a step notify. This notify should be used for any animation that uses movement, walking, running, anything. It's configured on data table with physical surfaces. So you can use it. It will automatically spawn a VFX if it's set up on the data table. It will also do a sound effect at the location of the step and the camera shake if you have it set up on the data table. We'll get to it later on when we start doing the demo project. Avo input notify, this is for example when attacking, you created an attacking state, and when attacking it transitions to the attacking state, and you want him to, in the start, be able to, for example, cancel the animation and dodge backwards, you can use an allow input notify and set up the inputs you want to allow. Now, for the state components, this is really simple, to be honest. You have a states data table, it needs to be set up. The state data table will have the state name, the inputs allowed, that should be like this, and the blend space for the movement, because the movement component will use that blend space based on the state. It uses root motion at the moment, but yeah. You can also call the get blend space from the states component, and the get blend space will give you the current blend space in using. Okay, now for the main states component, get state name, so you should call it to define variables or just write the name, but it needs to be the same as in the data table. There is another function called can perform action. Yeah, so basically you have a function called can perform action, and that will automatically check if the current state can perform the input that the player desires to do. You can also switch on that and do different inputs per states, and yeah. So for the movement component, you will need to set up a blend space for every custom movement in state. I forgot one point. If, for example, the attacking state is the same state as the combat state, if you leave the blend space empty, the blend space will stay the same as the last. So there is no worries about that. This component provides basically the movement. It was root motion. So basically this is how to set up the blend space and how to do the anim instance. It has the inputs automatically. You need to add the input actions to the component, obviously, and it does everything. Then you have a function, which is an input override. You can override it in blueprint, creating an event from it, and you will be able to use the inputs without having to double check it on blueprints, since you have the override. Okay, here we are talking about the steps data table. So it's basically what I was telling you before. The structure is predefined: physical surface material, camera shake, sound FX, and the Niagara system. Now for the camera is basically plug and play, to be honest. It's a physics-based camera, so pretty simple. Then you have an AI library. This library has kind of everything you need to do your NPCs and interactions. Uh, the documentation is kind of broad, but we are gonna add an example section where we are gonna do everything and explain it better. That will be on after the demo project is ready, which is after these tutorials are recorded, since we are gonna do the demo project while recording. Now the combat component. This component provides basically a library for melee combat on the player character. You need to add the component. It has functions like perform attack, it has health, armor, and stamina, everything. And it already comes with the camera, target camera function. You can use it or not, it's up to you. Now we have base classes. The base character class, which doesn't matter much, to be honest. It is needed because of the movement component and other components that work with it. Base weapon class. This weapon class just has basically one mesh, one static, one skeleton. You define which one you want. If you want to create shards of it and use it with For modular weapons, for example, you need to have more meshes. Doesn't matter. The main mesh needs to be the blade part of the sword, or the part you want the cohesion to be in. The part of the cohesion needs to be in the same mesh. That's the only requirement. And the function object. Now, this function object is going to be used for every anim notify. Wait for me. You are going to, for example, input notify when it. That's where I wanted to come into. In the input notify, we have an option to call an object function, more than one, to be honest. You can call how much functions you want. Basically, you are going to create an object shout from the class, and you can add it here. It will execute that function when the notify realizes itself. Now for allow input notify, you can add it too, and that's basically it. Yeah, I guess. And on cohesion check, you can add an object function too. So yep. So that's basically it. We went through the documentation. It's kind of broad and doesn't have much yet because we didn't do the demo project yet. I wanted to do that in a series, explaining everything about the framework. When you see it, when you are seeing this, you probably will have. When you're seeing this, you probably will have a more robust documentation with more things because I'm gonna be adding feature. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be adding feature requests that are sent to me on Discord for verified users. So if you are not verified yet, just send me a message and we'll deal with that. And that's it. So see you in the next video.